All right.
Do you have absinthe?
I have whiskey.
No, I'm not
good.
drinking, but I would drink absinthe if you had it.
Yeah, don't.
Because there would be a story behind you having the absinthe.
So
what
I'd you're telling me is I need to buy
my
this.
alcoholic fast so that I could hear that story.
I get you.
All right, there we are.
But maybe I'll buy some. Maybe we'll have it if we ever get to that point again. Like, oh yeah, I did. I bought some. Okay. Hello. Welcome to episode 4. I'm Steven as always. I've seen so many of these videos, and this is something I have forgotten to say the whole time, and it sounds almost kind of horrible to say. But if you're enjoying our little back and forth, feel free to like, subscribe, share it to somebody else. The goal there, if we all do that, like the Mormons do on there, I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of trendsetters in social media are Mormon, and it's because when one of them opens something, they all go start liking, sharing, and following it. So it has millions of followers and millions of subscribers almost instantly. And then it's monetized for this, right? So I say that to say we can make this old, retired, disheveled person money. That's a good thing. So maybe if we all play along, maybe that can happen too. And he'll buy some stupid, unnecessary.
It will be spent in interesting.
Would it be a car? You'd probably buy a big. I could see you with a big, stupid Cadillac with the big fins and the convertible.
No,
is that too much?
No, it's not enough. I'm back to that Dodge Viper thing.
Oh, that's what he wants to do as a retirement, and you can help. We might change the name to Just Two Professors to get this old man a Viper.
It's a totally unnecessary thing.
But it's fun.
And
fun is necessary. Hence, it's a necessary thing. Okay. All right. Now, you need to tell them what your name is this week.
We're back to that naming thing.
Yeah, no. Well, they need to know how to identify you. I mean, it says Gabe and Steven in the thing, but...
I'm playing with this one. All right.
Okay.
Dr. Edax Anime.
Edax Anime?
Yeah, if according to the internets.
Okay.
In Latin, that means soul or spirit eater. Anime meaning soul or spirit, and Edax meaning eater.
This works. This works with our topic. Love is a spirit eater. Spirit giver too, but spirit eater in some respects. And so that'll be interesting how that plays into as we move forward. Okay, so here's what all happened. We started thinking about last time we were talking about abduction, and I left off saying that love is the greatest abduction. So I said I would like to maybe spend some time this week talking about love, and what it means to love another person, and what love can mean to the world. As I'm a huge fan, I don't think you can see it in the shot, but there's a signed picture of Mr. Rogers just above my head there, and love has always been something. And before this, and this could be on an outtake moment. I don't know how long we were talking before we started, but it was a while. We were talking about both of us have origin stories in Catholicism and being raised in the community. That's where I got introduced to this notion of love. First, outside of my parents and my mom. My mom was a very loving person. My dad's a very loving person. But I remember I was like 4th or 5th grade, maybe. We had this nun named Sister Stella. Sister Stella was like the perfect all-mother. This short, kind of round, just hefty, beautiful soul. So happy all the time. And we were talking one day, and I said, but how do you know that there's a God? How do you know that this stuff is real? And she didn't give me a quick answer. She goes, maybe the best answer I could give you was that we're capable of love. And she said, I don't know anything more divine than love. I have thought about that statement since fifth grade or whatever it was, and it's played into my mind and into the things that I do so many times. But this is it. We use love more, this notion. What we typically give that word, or what we use to define that word, action, never ever equate to love. They equate more to manipulation. Let me put you in a position of making me feel better, is really is how we act on love. And it's taken several decades to gain the understanding. And I think that's what Sister Stella was meaning. It took me reading Bell Hooks's book, All About Love, where she said, if your parent can't love you because you come out of the closet as gay, then they don't love you at all. That's not love that they're talking about. That's liking. But if they're only going to love you fulfilling what they think you should, then they do not love you. They're too busy trying to love themselves, and they don't do that yet because they need you to do this. So this idea of what love means and what we mean by it. And so that's always been interesting to me. And one of the thoughts I've had since last week, let's see what you think. So when we manipulate people with "I love you," it's a hope to have sex, whatever, get something out of the other person. And now let's just be clear: when we say love, we're not only talking about sexual, romantic love. I love this man, and there's zero question about that. That has never been a sexual love or a romantic love, but I know, and this is the best definition I can give. I was giving this to a colleague the other day. What does it mean to love someone? It means to me, their absence will harm you. It will wound you.
Ooh.
I know today, there's a day if all things, go the way, you're older than me and those kinds of things, there will be a day where I don't know you, a day that I can't call you, a day that I can't drive over to your house. And that will wound me. It wounds me now thinking about it. And I think that's the best and easiest understanding, to acknowledge the role someone plays in your life, which should then give you the responsibility to earn that connection all the time with what you'll do for them and what you'll look past for them. And hopefully everybody in those relationships is doing it. Now, what we do when we manipulate people is actually just a distraction. We're distracting ourselves from how inadequate we feel.
Exactly.
Right? So that we can, it's a drug. I'm going to live on the drug. I'm going to live in the drug of sex or not having to do things or whatever. And so those are band-aids. They're stagnants. They never grow. Neither person is ever moving forward. So in my idea, this is where abduction for love is different, because it abducts you, becomes a medicine, pushing you to grow, pushing you to be your better version and love yourself more deeply, because it takes awareness. You have to be self-aware to know what you are loving. And I think that's the bare things. I don't think we're comfortable loving ourselves. We teach that self-love is selfishness.
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself is selfish. Oh, you're so
and
selfish.
particularly you get it with that older school Catholicism. But I think you get that with a number of, I don't know how to put it, child-hating religious forms.
Yeah. I think so.
That, though I was told you're supposed to love yourself because you're God's creation, the conditions around that love.
Yes. And that's what Bell Hooks said. Love should always be unconditional. There should not be a condition to it. I love you and I accept you. If you do something wrong, I expect you to.
Well, and I think part of that, the conditions, that's all set up with that exchange relationship approach to the world, where everything's a cost benefit.
Yes.
And to turn love into a cost benefit, and cost benefit is so rational. This is why Gabe's subtle and growing critique of social exchange theory. One of the things I like about the Greeks, it gets right to this, is when they saw that you were in love, they thought love was the greatest thing. And then they did those beautiful gradations. It's all of love, but there are types, storge, agape, mania, eros, ludus, all of these. But they understood that not only were all of these loves in varying degrees irrational, but they had to be.
Yes.
They were more than that.
Because they're more than us.
Yes. And
as our fragile
rationality was just a wonderful means to a kind of an end. And it could be said that falling in love, this abduction, I'm trying to stick with that, is going a little bit away from that cost-benefit sanity of selfishness to the madness to develop a higher order sanity. Still a selfishness, but that self now is inseparable from the other. I still get to be the selfish gene. It just turns out that other is part of myself. And if that starts to grow, I could easily see it hitting 8 billion people. I don't know that there's an end to that. And then it would even include such things as chihuahuas, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And trees.
And trees.
Dirt and all of it. And I think, remember you and I used to talk about alchemy. How is the abduction of love not alchemic? It's us reducing this person, this shell, very rational person that it is, into the deeper waters of what could be.
Yes, I'm thinking that we are taking base elements, or base selves,
yes,
and combining them, transmuting them to get that pure gold. Now, I could extend this metaphor and talk about vitrification and petrification, and those various really vitalistic processes associated with alchemy versus the mechanistic processes associated with science. But I don't want it.
Another episode. If you want that, comment on that. He'll deliver it. Facts.
Clearly my mind is not dead yet.
And that's a beautiful thing. Do you see? That's what bothers me with the distraction of love. It's so stagnant. It means your best day was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Why in the hell would you not want to be vulnerable enough to think your best day might be next year and live towards that? My God. Because if it's 10 years ago, you're already buried. It's over. You're playing it out at this point. It's over. There's no beauty left.
Walter Benjamin, I am really going to twist things here. His concept of the Messianic Moment. Yes. And really, he was talking about changes in the culture, that shift from the old world to the new. And when he said, we don't understand what we have until that moment of passing. And then after that, we lose some of that feeling. But we're given this brief moment of glimpse in the moment of passing where we can freeze it. He says, really interesting. Freeze it. Freeze it into this beautiful striated crystal so that we can look at various possibilities. And he's not saying hang on to it. It's not nostalgia. In fact, this is part of what seems to be his approach to collective salvation, a salvation which is never one of us. It's all of us, and never purely spiritual. It begins with the material kind of work. Well, maybe the way to look at these past loves is at that Messianic moment. I never knew in any of my other loves that ended, here I'm talking about romantic loves, what I had until it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in that moment of passing, I think I was the most agonized and prone to doing the stupidest things. Not knowing what I had until its moment of passing. Now for Benjamin, I think this is a way to wake up from a trance.
And you just acknowledge, you witness it. It's a witnessing, not a nostalgic holding on to,
No.
but a witnessing.
And it's a witnessing of experience, not of objective fact, of experience.
Yes.
My best example of this for me was me and my friends. That we were young little thugs going in these little packs. And we used to visit this one little tiny grocery store because at the time there were all these little shops and everybody's related to everybody. And it was this big old German who talked like this, big old angry sounding guy who was the softest marshmallow in the world. And we go in, what are you boys doing? God damn it, he'd say. And we'd go, he'd let us shoplift every now and then. Oh, that would go on. But he'd always let us bargain on his candy. Now, we didn't like his candy because it was so old on the shelf at the little tiny grocery store. And the way he was keeping it going was he had a big freezers in the back where people could bring their deer or their fur coats. That was all. This was the late 60s. And that old world was passing. And one day we go in there as we always went in there and knew something was different. His voice. Not, oh, what are you little goddamn shits doing? Come here and make a bargain with me. It's voice. Take what you want. Or it's what you want. Because this is my last day open. And tears. Germans don't cry unless they're drunk, but he was sober. Take anything you want, boys. I can't keep it going. My compressor went. I can't afford a new one. And there he is, and here we are in this wealth. Ah, yes. I remember bags of hard candy. Marshmallows were a little too hard. We're all loading up, and he's load up, take it all, boys. I'll miss you. And we took it on. We had our secret hiding place where we'd gather, especially when we're doing wrong things, you know. And, it was behind some trees in front of the Baptist church of all things. Little fort back there. We get it. And we couldn't eat the candy. And my friend Gabe, I was just tell him why. Was the speaker. Why can't we eat this? Why is it not sweet? I don't know what I said, but I know now I would say we have lost something. And it relates to love. That community there, that connection, that world where we could bumble about as little boys and see these various adults. It's like EPOs, every adult interacting with every child every day. Even if it was to say, you little sons of bitches, get out of my garden. That world had gone.
Which might have been also an end of the childhood.
Oh, very much.
Because now the reality of the real world's out there. You know that you're not safe, even though you may not have been fully safe in all situations anyway, but you had something you could depend on. Something.
Yeah, it was that end of continuity.
Yeah.
And the inability to articulate it. This struck me reading in Benjamin when he talks about soldiers coming back from World War I, and they couldn't speak. Unlike any other war, any other experience, the horror of that modern world had just ripped their voice out. The experience of being a thing and a cog and a machine was beyond speech.
Mm-hmm.
The best they could say is, I don't care if you're German or you're on the American, or we're all in it together and we are just dead things.
Which is dissimilar to like the Civil War when they took a break for like Christmas, right? And they were singing Christmas carols to each other.
That was World War One.
That was World War One. Like, just to be human again, outside of the things that you're expected to be, it's a movement from the pure experience into the forced world and then back into pure experience, maybe.
And if we would have listened to the silence of the World War One soldiers, we would not have gone to war again.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of building the military-industrial complex, which is just a pure war machine.
Yeah.
Which was the worst thing we could do. But again, that's a very rational approach. If you're worried and you're insecure, if I have the best army, an army that can flatten the entire planet, well, then I'm safer. Well, what if we just put that army aside and built a world where we didn't need so much violence? where that this is possible, that we could do more. Bill Hicks said this. He said, if you want to make it's the end of one of his comedy shows, and you can look it up. It's like a YouTube video of like Bill Hicks, "The World Is a Ride," and he said it's essentially a question: do you either want fear or love? Fear, very pragmatic. Yes, those are all that is a rational thought. Somebody could take you out. Rational. Love is, well, I'm going to love them so much they don't want to. That seems kind of like a fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, are you what? I don't know. Huh? You're going to love someone enough they don't want to hurt you. That's cute. But no. That's what our rational mind says. We can't trust that. Why? Because our rational mind is too busy projecting the worst parts of us into everyone else. So we cannot depend on that. But that's exactly what Jesus was asking us to depend on. Right? What you do to the least of me, you do unto me. It's clear as it can be.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly his MO, but yet so many Christians don't buy into it. And they want bigger locks, bigger guns, and all the things. And so Bill Hicks' solution was, if we take all that money we spend on weapons and war each year, and instead we spend it on feeding and clothing and educating the world many times over, which it would, we would have a better ride. We would have love. And then we wouldn't have people, which is a Buddhist principle. If you ever win a bunch of money, the best thing you could do is not put up a fence. Instead, build up all the houses around
I
you.
wonder if we even want that, though. I'm going to go back to this friend of mine.
I don't know if we want
a Pakistani who had been married, I think, several times. He had all these lovers, and every time it didn't last. They maintained this incredible friendship with these women, so that when they remarried, they were always introducing him to the husbands, and he would form a relationship with the husbands. And it was all over the world, so he could travel. And good things kept happening to him. The one that got me, brings it back to this conversation, was, you know how hard it is to get a job as a professor, especially he had a PhD in communications, right? And as far as I knew, no publications other than the dissertation. So he decides he wants to teach at an exclusive school in the mountains. So he finds one. He applies. He gets hired. What? In the meantime, his book, which on a whim he decides to submit for publication, hell, it ends up published and it becomes a bestseller. And he doesn't even know about this until he's flying in the airport to one of these former lovers. And he goes get a book to read, and there's his book for sale. And I'm like, God dang it. I said, why? Why do these good things always happen to you? And he was a man who gave it all up at one point. He was a man whose dad was multimillionaire, head of all of the tobacco in Pakistan, and he was the eldest son and supposed to take it over, and he said no, and dad disowned him, and he said, best thing ever. He began his journey. 10 years, taxi driver in the Bronx, said best education any human being could ever make. Anyway, back to this. These marvelous things have happened to him. And for me, even if I plan well, usually something bad will happen, right? And I'm like, why do good things always happen for you, Amir? And he quotes the Quran. Sufi that he is. He goes, Allah brings honey to he who wants honey. I said, well, I want honey. He goes, do you really? I said, ooh.
What are you sacrificing for it?
He's like, what would you do with honey? Clearly, you know what to do with lack of honey. You become expert in it. Do I want honey? I guess, do any of us really want this? If ending world's hunger and some of these things have nothing to do with whether we have the physical means.
Right. There's enough to go around, has been for 60, 70, 80 years probably. We don't have to live like this, with this tooth and claw thing. But we're just invested in that narrative. We can't understand a loving narrative because we've never lived a loving narrative. And so I don't know, like, And that's the other thing Albert said. It's the tooth and claw camp. It's we have to fight, and I have to beat you out, and I have to prove that I'm better than you. Because I'm insecure. All that said is I'm insecure, I'm insecure, I'm insecure, I'm insecure, right? Whereas love is totally different than that. It's I'm good, I have enough. Do you need some?
Yeah.
I have some.
Yeah.
I'll share this with you. I'll do this. It's a very different world. And I don't think, and I agree with you, I don't think globally we're ready for that. Because in order to do that, and this brings me back to my big belief is always has been, self-awareness and what it means to love. If you don't know who you are and you don't know what you're capable of, and you're not building, going back to what we were talking about, building that garden, if you're not doing that for you, then all you're begging is for someone to love you, which is something you won't do.
Yeah.
And they don't then know who to love. They don't know what to love because you're not something yet. And then once you put the effort in and you build that garden, then you're able to love this person that you are because that person has a very strong identity. And when you're looking at your friend Amir, strong identity, put forth, do you really want the honey? Do you really want to invest this much effort into you to turn your back on the fortune that awaited you, which is similar to what Buddha did, right? And become this thing that is, and live with that integrity. Very few people want that. What they want is someone just to make them feel better when they're feeling down, which is a manipulation and a distraction. It's a drug. It's treating somebody like a temporary thing.
And like a thing. To go back to that one, Harry the Wizard novel, I can't remember which one it was, where it defines sin as treating people like things.
Oh.
Very simply, straightforward, best definition I ever came across. And to look at the self, to treat the self as a thing. I've certainly done a lot of that.
It's funny.
I had a therapist one time who, right in the middle of a conversation, said, "You love beating up children?" I'm like, "You know me well. What? You'd like just smacking and beating them? Made it bloody and violent? Fuck no! What do you say?" He goes, "Well, why in the hell are you beating up your inner child?" And I laughed and laughed, and I said, "I am, aren't I?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
When self-deprecation becomes self-destruction.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised, teaching all that psychology of humor stuff. Surprised at first, and then I thought about it, that the comedians that die the youngest are those that use the most self-deprecatory humor.
Oh, yeah. Not surprising either.
And I thought about that, and I thought, oh, yeah, see that. Not that I don't enjoy self-deprecating humor. I think it's hilarious. I think it, in some ways, it's necessary. That necessary humility.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I've met way too many people who want to jump up and humiliate people around them under the guise of you need to be humiliated.
You need to be checked. You need to be kept.
Yeah, I'm
too
really
big on your own thought. Right?
Yeah. So one thing I learned as a teacher, that task of the teacher of humiliating students, of knocking them down, it was well covered by other people. I did not see a lack of that.
No.
And
in order to make yourself feel more secure,
yeah,
I'm going to beat you up.
I'm going to beat you up.
Revenge of the nerds kind of thing.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that you always resonated with me is you're not there for that. No. I don't want to beat you up. I want to show how great you are so that you can, and that's one of the things I try to do when I teach. You said this last time, and I don't think you said it on while we were filming. You had a friend who was a faculty member who was into the semester and they were sad. And they said, "Oh, I fell in love with a student and now I have to see him go." And I think it's kind of what you were saying earlier about this. I knew I didn't really know what I had until it's the end of the semester and I'm losing it. And it's not a romantic love, which is just a sad state that we have to consider everything a romantic love. But it's to say, like, I fall in love with my class every semester. I love them. I want nothing but good for them. I want to see how great they can be. I want their lives to be wonderful, even if we didn't agree on things. I am here for them. My life is good. I don't need better. I'm shooting for better, but I'm not needing it, which means I have ample room to give others so that they can love in their lives. And I want them to see how they should love their lives, and start to love themselves so that when they meet somebody they may want to share their life with, they have somebody to share. Right? Like, I always think it's weird when, oh, love me. I don't want to, fuck that. But you do it for me, and then I don't have to do it. Well, then what are you bringing to the table? What are you sharing? The other person's working their ass off.
And love requires a risk. I will give an example. The one thing I know I'm proud of as a college professor, when I started the Great Hug Fest at graduation, that we're lining up for graduation. I have 2 graduate students, 2 very, very different people. But I got to know them. One wasn't even in psychology. He was in education. He was a man who was living his life in a chair, as some have to do. The other was a deeply thoughtful man who at one time had been nationally ranked in gaming. And yet was preferring to run a bunch of kindly Christian daycares. Oh, interesting. But right before us, we're lined up, and that ritual where you as faculty member, you're chosen to put a hood on that student to represent the culmination of their efforts. I've been chosen by these 2. And right before we're lined up, we're told, if you hug the students, that's grounds for disciplinary action, if not termination. Of course, you see this, oh my God. And they come and say this and walk off, and the 2 students hear it and they're like, oh my God. And I say, guys, you want to be hugged? They go, well, yeah. I said, well, I knew I wanted to hug you, and it's traditional. But that made me think maybe you didn't want to be hugged and I'd make you uncomfortable. Oh, no. But we don't want you fired. I said, fuck that. I said, some things are worth dying for. I'm going to hug you. Oh, no, don't. No, I'm going to do this thing. And so we go up there, that big long line, and we get up there and nobody's hugging shit. Normally there's some hugging, none. All very mechanical. And then I get up there. And I know the dean doesn't trust me. His eyes are narrowed. The president knows who I am. His eyes are narrowed. I know I'm where I need to be. I'm going to go down in flames. And I hug the holy shit out of both my students. I make a big to-do out of it. The dean's eyes get big. The president's eyes become narrow. He becomes that predator. I'm going to kill him. But all of a sudden, people start hugging all over the stage. Got the old people getting up and hugging. Everybody's extra hugging. People are coming up and hugging me.
The infectiousness of love.
And exactly. And I'm not broken. I know I pissed people off. I'm already in their gun sights. Now they've just narrowed the focus. How do I know this? The very next year I am going to hood some people. And here comes the vice president out of nowhere. Shoots right over, right in the middle of graduation, right up to me, loudly says it so everybody hear it. Are you going to do something? I said, what would I do? Dr. Rupp, are you going to do something? I said, yes, I'm going to hood my students. But are you going to? I said, what do you think I'm going to do? Tell me. They'll give you an answer. You can hear it echo. And she can't answer and walks off. And the student's like, my God, Gabe, what are you going to do? I said, now, to drive them crazy? Absolutely nothing. I will be the best behaved.
I'll give them exactly what they wanted.
Love took a different form, was a risk. Mm-hmm. To be honest, what I did there was not smart. It was very stupid. There went any chance I ever had of being an administrator. That could have affected, if I didn't have tenure, that could have cost me that. I knew that. That was the defiance of love in the face of an unfeeling mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact was, they were all caught in the structure, even the president. I did not expect that hug explosion. That was gravy. I felt deep inside a rightness to what I did. Were I not to hug, take me out back and shoot me. Could not be who I am. And I do that crazy hugging thing. And if you think I was not aware of the consequences of the action, oh, bullshit. Having poked the beast before and been cut. It was a bigger risk than some people may imagine. That's what's called professional suicide in increments. Nonetheless, well worth it. And notice that the really interesting thing to me was watching that cascade of hugging.
Mm-hmm.
Even the dean, who I could tell was pissed at me. But he wasn't pissed at me. He wanted to hug.
He was pissed that he didn't have the wherewithal to do what you did.
That was it.
It's that, how dare you live brighter than I'm living?
And I could say, prior to the hugging, where the fuck are your testicles, Dean? But the fact is, the moment he started hugging and he hugged like mad, good, you dropped a set. You did it. It would have been nice. They would have been pre-dropped, given you're in the leadership position and I'm the minion. But I'll take this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're taught by the underling.
Oh, see, that's the thing. Hugs are, they've done studies, right? 8 hugs a day will make you a healthier person. 8 good hugs, not like catch and release, but good quality hugs. And I tell this to my students every time, every semester. I say, you know what? Get your hugs. And I say, I know some of you are like, well, I don't like to be touched. It's not true. Everybody likes to be touched. You just like to pick who's touching you. And I understand that. And you have every right to feel that way. But the problem with that is the smaller your circle of being okay touchers, if you're not by one of them, then you're going several days, weeks, months without any kind of demonstrative affection, which is bad. It's bad for you, bad for your soul. So grow your net a little bit and then hug more. And so I said, let me give you some advice on how to find people to hug. If you're walking across campus and you see somebody that looks like they'd give a good solid hug, step in front of them, put your arms out. Wave them in. You don't have to know them, just wave them in. Now, if they look at you kind of weird and step out of the way, maybe they didn't want to hug, but maybe they didn't know it was for them. So give them another opportunity, step back in front of them. This is somebody's a good 10 feet away, right? And they move out 5, and you still have 5 feet to work with, so get back in front of them and just kind of like, no, that was for you. If they move again, let them go. They do. You don't want to just like guerrilla assault someone with a hug, but like let them know that the hug is available. I said this, and it's a joke, and I say it every semester. One semester, one of our big football players comes up to the front of the room right after class, and he goes, I was like, you're damn right. Walk right across, big ol' hug. I hugged that guy probably 12 times that semester. See him on campus, and he'd see me and go. Now, that's a wonderful thing to share. It's not sexual. It's not anything. Here's somebody who God knows how far away he is from home, who needs a hug. And hey, you know what? That's a safe hug. I'll go get that hug. What's wrong with that? A lot of people will tell you, oh, that's evil. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, this is whatever. No. I met a kindergarten teacher who's like, oh, I don't hug my students. I was like, what do you do with them?
I can't imagine.
How can you not teach them? My kid's kindergarten teacher loved on them. Hey, Miss Blevins, and sit them on the lap, and she'd give them a little hug. Like, how are you doing today? My kids felt secure in their school. There's a difference between being a pedophile and hugging someone.
My God,
Jesus.
I watched my daughter who was insecure going into kindergarten. She's so driven. She was scared. She thought she needed to know everything. And I knew this is going to make this first moment with the teacher. And here's this great teacher who I assume was hippie. Hugs her. Immediately sees she's insecure. Immediately gives her comfort. And is launching her entire career as a student.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to begin with you being safe with a physical hug.
I belong here. This is my... Now, I do see teachers who have like the signs where you can do like a fist bump or like a dance or whatever, and like hugs one of them. Like, those are wonderful things. Because then it allows the kid to depict where they're at and what they're comfortable with. And I think those are great. Again, I don't think anybody should be hugged who doesn't want to be hugged. Exactly. But if somebody wants to be hugged, what kind of monster removes a hug from somebody who needs
because that blanket stuff. You know, I understood why they banned hugging. They were afraid of lawsuits, too much intimacy. I understood that. And I agreed with that. And there have been problems. We know this. On the other hand, to sacrifice all closeness to, and worse, that kind of obscenity of assuming that all touch is somehow an act of intentional sexual violence. You know, is that the world that you see?
We're gonna create a world that's so fragmented from each other and of ourselves that there's absolutely no hope. And I think that kind of reminds me of what you said earlier. Have you ever seen Hannah Gadsby? She's a comedian, a lesbian comedian from, I might be wrong. This is a memory thing. Maybe Tasmania. Sounds Australian. Sounds like, but somewhere like that. Who gives a whole discussion about how she can no longer do comedy. The whole show is, I can no longer be a comedian because it requires too much self-destruction, right? Self-deprecating humor. And so she starts off with this show of talking about how she sees a woman at a bus stop and she goes up and tries to strike a conversation, and the whole thing, right? And then this girl's boyfriend comes out and calls her a bunch of homosexual slurs, and starts trying to beat her up. And the girlfriend goes, "Don't, wait, it's a girl." And the guy goes, "Oh," and stops. So in that joke setup, she's self-deprecating the story, but that's not what happens. So she's building the tension so that she can give you a release. But when she's the character, that's self-deprecation so that she can build all this tension so you're ready for that release. And then, okay, he just thought, she was a boy and blah, blah, blah. She said, but the real truth was, what really happened to her is he didn't stop. He hospitalized her.
Yeah.
And she goes, so I have to ruin my history to serve that as a joke, to give you the right amount of tension so that you can get a release. I'm not authentic in this story anymore. But that is something very real that she went through. And I think when we require people to do this, so you're requiring a student to say they don't need a hug? Oh, I don't need a hug. I'm fine. Pretty soon you're going to form calluses. And then later you're saying, well, why can't this young man be a good dad?
Well,
where was he conditioned on how to do that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Where's that love come? Where did it come from? It was supposed to come from somewhere. So I really hate this. I remember, I think I may have even slapped my principal on the ass in high school. Like, I saw him, we see each other in the hug, I'd give him a big hug, and he knew I was a basketball player, and we would talk. You know, he would say, "Hey, come into this." He would write me a pass. So, how's practice going? Are we going to be okay? We got a good game this week. And we would just talk, and it was great. And towards the end, when I was graduating, he was just a great man who showed me that yes, I belong, and yes, it's important for me to be there. And I walked up to him, like high five in the hallway, and I think I kind of remember him. It might be a false memory, but I just like slapped him on the ass like you do with an athlete, like basketball players do. Meant nothing. Now today, what would happen?
Oh,
Now I get back then that probably wasn't great either, right? But at the same token, if we were on a basketball court and we were playing pickup games, that would have been totally okay. And
totally
part of it.
Okay.
This is so we really need to have a genuine discussion on intention, what happens, and all the things, because not all of it's malicious.
Yeah.
And we need to hold the people who are malicious to account. I find it very hard to have this discussion today when the current leader of the country has said repeated offenses that are some of the most vile things. When he's talked about going into dressing rooms of underage people and seeing underage girls and seeing them naked and so amazing, or grab them by the pussy, or any of these things, it is an absolute assault on, women at the least, but also men, to say that that's a normal behavior.
Yeah.
Because he said it's locker room talk. I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I have not heard anything like that.
No.
I'm sorry. I don't agree. Definitely in locker rooms, you probably hear some things that are maybe not should be shared, of like, oh, I had sex with this person or whatever. But it wasn't, oh yeah, I had sex with this person by raping them.
Yeah.
Like that's,
isn't it cool?
Or assaulting them.
Yeah.
That wasn't the thing. And so, yes, locker rooms, I think, inevitably have content in them that probably isn't the best shared, whether it's a male's locker room or a female's locker room. I don't know that there's a huge difference between. But I do think it's weird that we're so afraid of love.
Yeah.
Of pure good love. I remember when we were talking about teachers hugging me, I remember Sister Stella giving me some of the best. I can still feel her hug. It was perfect. I think, and I can feel her hands come around me. It felt a lot like my mom's hug. My head felt right perfect on her shoulder. And she just held me. She's like, "It's okay, Stephen. It's okay." I knew I belonged there. And I imagine students today going to school where they're only pushing for testing. They're only, do they belong there? Do they fit in? Are they a part of this thing? I don't know that they feel the same way that I felt. And I think that's just sad. Now, again, I was, when I was in private school, I don't know how yours was. I think I only had like 12 or 13 students in my class. It was pretty small. So it was easy for us to know all the teachers, and the teachers know us all by name. And that was normal. But again, I will always reiterate, I don't think a hug should be forced. I don't think if a child doesn't want to hug, but then again, okay, let's take it to how many parents will have a kid and say, "Oh, just go hug your grandma. She wants a hug," when the kid doesn't want to, and force the kid to hug grandma or grandpa or whatever. So where's the consistency for me? If someone has autonomy, which I believe everybody should, and so if this little student doesn't want to hug and they want to point to a dance or a fist bump or whatever, brilliant. They do want to hug because they're in a bad, maybe they just need a hug. They're just down. Brilliant. At the same token, if they don't want grandma's hug or uncle's hug or whoever's hug, then that should be okay too. And you should give them the space and the autonomy to say, "No, I don't want to."
Yeah.
If we're going to make it all about the kids.
Yeah.
I find it very weird how inconsistent people are on that. Take care.
Yeah.